Welcome to the Bread and Thorns podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bread and Thorns podcast, a bi-weekly podcast where we sit down and discuss literature, art, media, and other stuff we really like and how they influence the projects that we're working on. I'm Isaac.
And I'm Rosemary.
And today we are going to discuss...
It's like, which version are we going to use?
Let's use the English one. All right, we'll do 3, 2, 1.
A silent voice.
Yeah, I had that right in my head as I was saying it.
Are we doing the Japanese? Are we doing the English? Or are we doing like the Japanese translation of the English? Like
the English translation.
English translation of the Japanese.
Yeah. So for those of you who just missed it, this is the first time we've messed that up, by the way. I think so.
I'm impressed.
That's pretty funny. But we are doing a review analysis of A Silent Voice, otherwise known as Koe No Katachi in Japanese, or the transliteration of that in English is The Shape of Voice, or Shape of Voice. It is a drama film, a 2016 Japanese anime drama film that is produced by Kyoto Animation, which I really, really love. Mostly because of this. It was actually because of this film that I found out about Kyoto Animation, and I started watching their stuff. And
you're in love?
I kind of am. I am especially in love with the work of Nako Yamada, who is the director of this film. She did this one, A Silent Voice. She did K-On! She did... Oh, man. Why am I not remembering right now? I have to pull it up. She did... I think the most recent one is Liz and the Bluebird. I think that was based off Sound Euphonium. Yes, it was. Yeah. I just have to remember the names and everything, but I don't remember names. But yeah, I adore her work now, ever since watching this film and then watching her other stuff. She's probably becoming, if not already, one of my favorite directors of all time. And it is a anime that is adapted from a series manga. And so it's an adaptation, and
That honestly makes sense. Like with the way that the movie is set up, like it feels like the up and down drama of just like manga.
I guess I don't understand what you're saying, but that's okay.
It has the roller coaster.
Is there a difference between
effect.
Anime and manga when the anime is not
kind of like Studio Ghibli isn't like it doesn't jerk you around. So like there's like most animated films don't jerk you around. They have like one solid plot, and that's like the plot, and they might have subplots, but with like manga and other things, it's like here and there and everywhere, and now you're up and down, and we want you emotional and messed up and upset and wanting this, and like you need to do this, and like it's just there's more I charge to them.
Right. There's generally, because it's a series of graphic novels, right? So there's a lot more material that you had to go through, but if you're going to condense it down into a film, it's going to be much shorter, right? And so you're going to miss out a lot of stuff. So you have to kind of cut from scene to scene to scene. Is that what you mean? That's
part of it. It's also just the emotional roller coaster of just like we'll go through as we do the movie summary, but you can kind of, with the different points that happen, it's kind of like this thing and then this thing and then this thing and then this thing, rather than like you go from here to here and here.
So there's
here,
less
and then really
walking
big actual
around
thing,
meandering kind of feel, and more of a set, like set to set to set feel.
Yeah, like you're pushed into each thing.
Okay.
Instead of like you're held by the hand and guided through the lolling hills of this wonderful film.
Well, the spoiler-free summary of this, for those of you who haven't seen this, is that it is about a boy who has bullied a girl in elementary school and is now in high school and is trying to make up for that. That's the simple...
Wow, that is the very
simple plot. But
yeah.
that is the story.
That is the story.
Right?
He's trying to be a better person. Well, it's not even a better person.
He's trying to make up for what he did. Right,
but he's trying to make up for himself, not necessarily to her. Like
yeah. So, he realizes by the end that that's what he was doing, and so, but the main crux of this film is an exploration of kind of characters, right, people, psychology, and also just like themes like bullying, and of course,
friendship and how you change and how you adapt socially based on who's
right.
around
So
you.
outside of the simple plot, then you can't really, in a condensed way, talk about this film, right?
It's impressive. It does. If you're gonna watch this, just know this is not a movie you can just watch once and walk away from satisfied with like the closure of it. Like it's an amazingly well done film, and like, but you want to watch it again.
Right, yeah. It'll make you want to watch it again. Or, well, no, most people I say like they need a break before they want to revisit it. I didn't.
The first 2 times I watched it were pretty much back to back.
The first 2 times I watched it was back to back.
Yeah. The only reason it wasn't back to back is because I watched it and it didn't finish until midnight. I'm like, I need sleep now.
Oh, okay.
And then I watched it the next day.
Right. I watched it and I looked at the time and I was like, screw sleep. I'm gonna watch it again. So
nice.
I watched it again.
I might do that again because I for this one I had to watch it all analytically. So like. The other 3 times I've watched this, by the way, I've only watched this like 4 times, but like the other 3 times that I've watched this, like I cried at like a couple different points during the movie, and this time I didn't. There was much less emotional response because I was so busy writing down or paying attention to things and picking up on things that I thought Isaac would get mad at me for if I didn't remember from the movie. That
I won't get mad.
You're just gonna stare at me, or we're gonna have a moment of silence.
Right. Well, like we had many times in the previous episode.
We attempted moments of silence. You had a moment of silence. I had a moment of laughter and nervousness.
Well, no, the first one I think I had a moment of trying to be silent, but then I just wasn't silent.
Yeah. Anyway, but
this movie is actually on both of our lists.
Yes.
So for those of you who are just jumping in, we are going through Rosemary's and my top 10 films of all time that we like. And this is on both of our lists. And so Koe No Katachi is number 2 on my list. Mm-hmm. And what is it on yours, Rosemary?
It is number 5, which is still impressive because it's the newest movie on the list, I think. And it's, okay, except for Palm Springs. But we all have acknowledged that Palm Springs was a temporary. It was a summer fling. Palm Springs is a summer fling. But
yeah, she's trying to justify, guys, that it's number 5 on her list. She knows it should be higher. You can hear it in her voice by the way that she preempted my question, which was, why is this so low on your list?
Because I have been. It's like,
this should be higher.
Like ice cream. I love ice cream. I've always been in love with ice cream. Someone can make me a dessert that I have never watched but never eaten before, and it can be amazing, but it's not going to usurp my love of ice cream because ice cream is supreme.
Yeah, this film's better than ice cream.
I would say it's more long-term fulfilling than ice cream. If someone was like, I will give you a lifetime supply of whatever ice cream you want, or you can watch this movie whenever you want to, not have to pay for it, and I will give you like a big giant green, like a big screen TV for any time that you want to watch it, I'd still probably choose the ice cream.
No, this film. So for those of you who haven't seen it, please go watch it. We would both recommend, of course, that you should definitely go watch this film.
It is an emotional roller coaster, though. So, like, if you're really feeling like trash, please bring someone with you to watch it.
I actually would recommend this movie, even when someone isn't feeling that great. I think it does have an extremely
freaking sad, dude.
But it's a very uplifting movie by the end. And I think that
I don't know if they'll make it that far.
So just keep trudging through. But I think
if you're gonna watch this by yourself, you have to watch the whole movie because it's a really good movie. It's just there are several points where you're like, whoa, okay.
Right. I mean, the topic it deals with is bullying.
It's difficult.
Right? And so, so for those of you who haven't seen it, we just really recommend go watch it because it's so good. It is number 2 on my list, so obviously I can't recommend it more.
Enough.
And, well, I can, I guess, recommend it more, but I can't because there's actually...
Because you recommended at all possible points you would normally recommend it.
Yeah, so it's... Like, in terms of the distance between my number 1 and number 2, it's actually about the same between number 2 and number 3, which is pretty. And
then pretty much the same between 3 and 4.
3 and 4, no, because 3 and 4 always flip-flop.
Inside Out and Dark Knight.
Yeah, those always flip-flop with each other. And
which means that they're pretty freaking close.
No, so they are actually quite far. That's what I'm saying.
I'm so confused.
So from my top 10 in 10, from The Matrix to Inside Out, those are all pretty close together. And then there's a big leap to Silent Voice, and then another big leap to my number 1. And so this
No, that's what I was saying is Inside Out and Dark Knight are closer. Not that Inside Out and Silent Voice were dark.
Right,
No. I'm aware that Silent Voice absolutely is ahead of Inside Out. Honestly, in my book as well.
How dare you? No, I'm kidding. So yeah, obviously we recommend watching it and then coming back and seeing if our thoughts are at all important or we're just wrong about everything. And
as
from
he
now
would like
on,
to say mine are.
Oh right, of course. Yeah, 100%. Right. So and from now on we're going to just do spoilers, not spoiler free, but spoiler filled. Spoiler filled.
You missed it.
Summary. I did miss it intentionally. Right. I think the big twist of this film is that the girl is deaf. Even though it's actually in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm like, that's not.
Because I've done this. I've kind of had an experiment going where I would tell certain people to watch it, or I would tell all my friends to watch it, but I would tell some of them. I would tell all of them it's about bullying, right? But I would tell some of them that the girl is deaf, and then some of them that it wasn't. That
just boy bullying girl.
Right. I wouldn't tell them. And why? The deaf part became a big talking point, like a twist almost talking point to the ones that didn't know. Right. Whereas going into it knowing that she was deaf took the edge off a little bit. Just an experiment that I had. And so that's why I delineated pretty heavily between spoiler-free and spoiler-filled, just because of that one point. But
I feel like there are bigger
There are
twists.
bigger. I mean, there aren't twists. There aren't bigger twists.
I didn't expect them.
Oh, okay. Right. So there is that other big twist.
Yeah.
Which is
double almost suicides.
Yeah. Well, that's in the beginning, right? You have the suicide.
And then at the end.
No, not at the end. More like the
3/4 mark.
Yeah, 2/3 of the way. Yeah. Right. Oh no, you're right. 3/4 mark. Probably.
It was closer to the end.
Yeah, it was closer to the end where she also.
Yeah, that was a little surprising. Especially because, like, okay, first of all, you recommended this to me. So I was like, all right, it's going to be interesting in some way. But it was also at the beginning of our friendship. And so something where, like, I didn't quite know you that well. And so, because that was one of the first things that you recommended. That and Erased were the first two things that you were like, you need to watch
Erased
this.
First.
Yes, you did. Yeah. And then you recommended Silent Voice.
Yeah.
And but it was still in the beginning, and so something where I was like, all right, I know it's gonna be good. I don't want to like it, but I knew nothing else. You were like, just go watch it. Like, you didn't even tell me anything else. I think you might have mentioned it had bullying in it. Like,
no, I definitely mentioned that.
I don't think you mentioned anything else though.
Right. Yeah.
I don't remember you mentioning anything else.
I know I didn't mention the death part to you. I know I didn't obviously the suicide part to you. So,
yeah. And so something where you start off, and in the first 5 minutes, this boy is like, I'm gonna jump off a bridge, like. Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was really high.
Whenever
and
I watch
loud,
this with people, that is the.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, that is the reaction.
He's like, Mom, here's the money I owe you. Okay, is that mom or is that sister?
That was mom.
That is mom. Okay, that confused me. That
mom.
has confused me the entire time. As I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's mom. He calls her mom, but then there's several things where
you never see
the sister until the end of the movie. Well, you never see her face.
Yeah,
you do see her, and you do see the husband, because then you see Maria. But then it was something where like the mom was calling Maria the daughter at one point. I was like, I'm so confused, and so I was pretty sure that I misinterpreted, but I wasn't sure. Anyway, but
Did
yeah,
you watch I haven't watched the dub yet.
No,
but I know that
I watched the subtitled one.
I watched parts of the dub, and this was one of those that I actually kind of liked. So far, they for the English dub, they got an actual deaf actress to do Shoko's voice. Yeah, and it was.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So there's an interview with her. So I have the Blu-ray version. So there's an interview with her, and she goes through.
I know you have the Blu-ray version.
Oh, okay. So, anyways, you were the one that gave me the Blu-ray version. So, but that one has a.
I still have your Christmas present at home. It does exist. I promise. I just keep forgetting until afterwards. He probably doesn't even care. Anyway, my apologies. I just
April.
Remember.
At this point, you should just save it till the end of the year. I won't remember, so it doesn't matter.
Maybe we'll see. But
So with this, So I think the reaction that everybody that I watch this with is oh my gosh, wait, is he gonna jump? Wait, what? And then that's the beginning. Of course, he doesn't jump.
Yeah.
But then you get the story, and
I love that his mom yells at him for it, because a lot of parents are like, I can't broach the subject with you now ever again.
Yeah, I really
like they actually confront it, and I was like, I appreciate that.
I like how on the sleeve the emotions are in this film, where everything. This film is.
It felt normal and real.
Yes, but it's very not normal and not. Well, it is very real, but it's very not normal. I think for, especially I guess I mean considering this was made in Japan, but it's not that real to have the emotions be so on the sleeve all the time.
That's kind of more of a Western thing.
Well, even in a Western context, I guess it wouldn't. I don't know if it would be this obvious. I don't think. It's not that the dialogue was bad.
I think it was a perfect blend of both cultures, because there's the blunt honesty that Western culture tends to have.
Some of the characters have.
And then it also has the Eastern honor and integrity. Like there's
right. I'm talking about emotions though. Not necessarily.
Yeah, and so but the display of emotion was kind of blended. Because for example, with the grief of the grandmother, no one was really weeping. It was kind of just like okay, she's gone and this is sad, but it didn't seem like really, really, really powerful grieving. It was just sad.
The mother was weeping.
She was still, but it was still a very, very private grief. It wasn't shared with the family.
Oh, right.
And that's both Eastern and Western. That's the only places that don't do that are in the middle, African cultures are we will weep and wail and moan and cry because that's the only way our ancestors are going to get to the other side.
I'm not going to make a comment about that, but I do appreciate how this film is very, again, on the sleeve with its emotions, but because the emotions are so raw, it's very captivating, I think.
Yes.
To watch, and so, yeah. I actually don't really know how to start this, except other than why is this so low on your list? No, I'm kidding.
Well, it's okay for me. It's something where it genuinely is as I get older and I watch it more, it might. I don't want to say probably. It might move up. I already know that my list is gonna change. I just don't know when that is. It's already kind of shifted, but it's something where for me right now, most of my list has to do with nostalgia and things that inspire nostalgia, rather than the creation of the film is the most spectacular, wonderful, beautiful thing that has ever been created in the entire planet. It's very personal for me, and so it's something where with this movie, it has the sweetness, it has the romance, it has the drama and the action, and it's a beautiful movie.
Yeah, one thing about this film, you're talking about Silent Voice.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so.
He's I don't want to agree with you about your other ones on your list.
But I think one of the things with this film is that something that I often, I think, or that often gets sidelined or just kind of overlooked is the music.
Oh,
right?
It's so good.
But the soundtrack for this film, it's very minimalistic, very ambient, but it's still very beautiful.
Yes.
Right? You have it's basically kind of this mishmash of piano with some electronic components about it. But a lot of the sound that you're hearing is a lot of the sound that you're hearing is the piano, but it's not just the music of the piano, but it's what the piano actually sounds like. So you get a lot of the thumps, you get a lot of the textures of the hammers and the felt hitting the strings and the wood and everything like that, and it makes the film feel very tangible.
Interesting.
At least to me.
No, I get that. I just didn't pick up on half of that.
It's
because I would have said the soundtrack is stunning.
It is stunning. It is. I don't want to take away from the beauty of the soundtrack
but
just
you
as music.
added more depth to it of
right?
like.
So there's like this.
It does have that. You're not just listening to some random recording of a piano. Like you can almost imagine that you're there standing next to it, hearing those pieces and parts moving in the instrument.
So in a way, so this film is about a boy who has bullied a young deaf girl, and kind of the perception that all of these characters really have, right? And that again, the juggle between Shoya's perspective and Shoko's perspective and then Ueno's perspective and then Kawaii's perspective, all these different characters coming together and having to figure out what relationship and connection actually is.
By the way, I call Nagatsuki Curly, just for reference. If I do that, that's who I'm referring to.
Okay. So I don't refer to
that's not surprising
him that way, but that's okay.
That's not surprising. It was either Suki or Curly, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah, so one of the things is it's really hard to describe. I guess I'm still trying to think, but
it's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. So Shoya has this sort of not Shoya, sorry. Shoka is deaf, right? Shoka Nishimiya, right? She's deaf, and one of the things that the soundtrack is doing is making the viewer kind of be in that space of not being able to not being able to hear in a way.
You have to feel sound more than you hear it.
Right. So that's what you're getting out of that soundtrack, right?
Yeah.
When the felt of the hammers like goes onto the wood or the strings and you hear the dampening pedal and everything like that, it's like you get this feeling. I guess especially I'm a musician, so I do get that feeling. But it's like you're feeling something that normally you're not really attentive to in listening to music, but suddenly you have this other sense.
Well, it awakens your other senses.
Right. And so it's kind of like an imitation of the vibration that a person who is deaf would have to kind of try to feel out the vibrations of what's going on in the world. And it's a really ingenious way. And that's just like one detail of how the soundtrack works and how it complements the movie so well. But I mean, of course, as a musician, I want to mention that because it's gorgeous. The movie is called Shape of Voice, right? And as a transliteration of Japanese, the album for the soundtrack is called A Shape of Light.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's, if you remember at the beginning, right, you have that whole.
Yeah, no,
right?
it's a point of the light and then the shape of voice.
Yeah. And then so when it's like a point of the light and it's the beginning of that soundtrack, it's also the soundtrack is called A Shape of Light.
Oh.
Yeah. Very poetic. I really enjoyed it.
This whole movie is poetic.
Yeah, this movie
is
great.
That's honestly probably one of the reasons why it's so high on my list. I know you don't agree that it's high enough, but
number 5.
It is high on my list. And part of that reason is because even if it's not really heavy in like dramatized romance, the entire film is romanticized. Like it is. Well, no, because like it's not like through rose-colored glasses of just like you're staring at all this and like it's not really all this bad. Like they know they show you like this is aggressive, this happens, bullying.
It's not like a love erotic romance, but it's a romanticization of this time
like it's
period.
why people like Studio Ghibli so much. Is it's this like, oh, I want to go there. So even though this story is tragic, you're still like, wait, like I want to know these people.
Right. Yeah. Or I feel like I connect with these people.
Yes.
Right. And in that way, the film. You okay?
Apparently, I'm yawning.
You're yawning a lot.
I also got like 3 hours of sleep last night.
Oh,
so
were you
it's
also
just
watching
whacking
this
me.
Movie right afterwards.
Not exactly. I think I started it last night, and then this morning because I went to bed late, and then I got up at like 5:30 in the morning to like make sure that I actually watched this movie all the way through, and like took notes and did things. I'm so tired, guys.
All right, we'll try to make this as easy as possible for you.
Maybe.
So, but yeah, man, now I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
That's okay. So we have a lot of things that this movie is trying to do, and I think this movie really does all of them really, really well. But it's kind of like, so my number 3 was Inside Voice. Oh, not Inside combination. Inside Out,
yes,
right?
That's beautiful.
And Inside Out is really a very in-depth character study, right?
Yes.
But this one is almost just like it takes that to another level. It's a 2-hour film.
It's longer than 2 hours, isn't it?
It's like 2:05.
2:10.
2:10. Okay,
2:10.
so it's a 2-hour film.
It is a 2-hour film,
right?
But it does actually feel like 2 hours.
2 hours and wait, 2 hours, 2:10. Does that mean 210 minutes? No, right? It's
No,
2 hours and
130.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, so 2 hours and 10 minutes. Yeah, sorry. And
but
so
like it feels like 2 hours when you watch it.
But so it's a film. Like
Yes.
it's not one of these 90-minute animes or 90-minute cartoons or anything like that. It's an actual film.
Yes.
Length movie, and
yes.
they take their time to explore all of these different characters and everything like that. And one of the things is that, I mean, the topical thing is this movie is talking about bullying, right? But the themes that underlie it are more like, okay, like anxiety, self-hatred, friendship,
love,
punishment,
loss.
shame, making up for the past. All these actually very adult themes.
Yeah.
That it's more mature than a lot of even live action films would be.
Yeah.
Right.
Hands down. I would say that most things that are aimed at younger audiences, you have to get through the depth of whatever it is that you're doing. Versus with adult films, adults just want to vegetate. All films that are aimed towards adults, like, you're probably not going to learn a whole heck of a lot from a romantic comedy. Like, you can, but you're probably not going to get a whole bunch of depth that's going to leave you reeling. You might get a message or two out of it that you're like, whoa, I like that perspective shift. Versus, like, with kids, like, if you watch Avatar The Last Airbender and you don't change your life as you're watching it because you're like, whoa, like those principles are amazing, and I want to be Iroh. Like if you don't want to change after watching a movie aimed at younger audiences, then they didn't do a very good job of making a movie, because that is where you can put in depth, because people know, like, all right, I know that it's going to be for kids, it's going to be super, super enjoyable, but I also know it's probably going to be like a lesson or whatever, and so you're a little bit more open versus, I don't know, like,
I would say that there are lessons in adult films, there are lessons in children's films, but the more mature, my opinion, of course, but the more mature a film is, the less obvious and more subtle the lessons are. And so when you have a film like this, obviously we want to say bullying is bad, right? That's a message that everyone can get on board with. But what this film does is it explores why bullying happens and why children behave the way they do.
And why it's not just one person.
Yeah. And so you have the setup of, you have Shoko, you have Shoya. I should get his name right.
Why Ueno?
Right. You have Ueno in there.
I forget what the blonde guy is. It's Ishimita, I think, is the blonde.
The blonde guy. The blonde boy.
His best friend.
Shimada?
Sure.
Sure. The guy that abandoned him, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Shimada.
Okay, cool.
And then you have Sahara, right? And you have these characters, and you are introduced to them as their kids. And kids are just, they're not blank slates, but they kind of are, right? They don't really know why they think the way they do.
They're searching for connections in a more obvious way than adults.
Well, but not in a more obvious way. I think in a more brunt way.
Okay.
Right? Because they don't know how to act necessarily. They don't know what's socially acceptable. So so one of
that's why you whisper something to a kid. You're like, hey, this, that, and the other. Like, oh, you mean this? It's because they don't.
Well, I'm just talking about in this film, like in the context of this film. Maybe that was an experience you had, but
I've had that a lot.
Yeah. So, but in this film, it's you get the setup of when Shoya is in school. You immediately understand that Ueno likes him.
Yes.
Right. There's very obvious kind of camera movements in where it shows her looking at him and then looking at
or like a little blush or something like that.
Right. And immediately when Shoko comes in, she becomes like the competition.
Yes.
Right. Immediately.
Well, because he gives her attention.
Right.
He's curious.
And Ueno is jealous of the attention that, even though Shoya's not like giving Shoya's not giving Shoko attention like I like you.
Yeah.
Shoya's giving you attention as like you're weird.
Like, what? I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm curious about you.
As a human being.
What are you? Right.
Yeah.
But Ueno interprets that as
Shoko like romantic interest.
Right. Shoko is taking interest away from me, and so she lashes out back at back at Shoko,
who hasn't done anything wrong.
Right. And it's just
with
and
her
then
pink hair and her cute face, and she's just so. I'm sorry, she's just precious.
She is precious.
So freaking precious.
And throwing in the wrench of the fact that she is deaf, right? So she doesn't hear what's going on around her.
Nope.
Right? And
both of them are sitting behind her too. So she can't even like look at them to kind of guess what's going on. It's all an attack from behind.
But she doesn't perceive it as an attack, right?
Not at first.
Not almost ever, right? Because she doesn't
She does keep apologizing.
Yeah, she doesn't understand that they're the ones that are off and wrong. She thinks it's something wrong with her, right? And that's the deep sadness about a lot of this stuff is that, and it feeds into her self-hatred, right? Where she doesn't like herself, right? And she thinks everything that's going around them is her fault, right? But that's a very childlike understanding of what's going on in a circumstance.
I feel like that's part of the reason why this movie is lower on my list, is it hits a little too close to home for me to have it up higher.
So it should be higher. No, I'm kidding.
Again, things are shifting. Things will continue to shift. But for me, it's something where, like, I was bullied and I have bullied. So, like, it's been both. So I can see both sides. I have been on both sides. And it's something where, like, I still struggle with the immaturity of, like, just allowing myself to, like, be bathed in my shame and, like, self-pity and self-hatred and those kind of, that's still a very constant struggle for me. And so this movie is one that I do love, but I have to be careful with it because it is dangerous. Because that's why I was saying, like, don't watch it alone, because if you're not careful, it can kind of spiral you a little bit. And so that's honestly why I haven't watched it more than the 4 times. Because of that.
It is a very, it hits those points pretty hard, right?
It's a hammer to the teeth.
Yeah.
It's like horse kick in the teeth.
Like
your teeth are gone.
Every time that you see Ishida, like, do something, like, especially when they were the younger ones, when they were younger, when he was doing these actions, like, and he's not, and I think this is the tricky kind of issue with bullying, and probably why I'm pausing a lot more in this podcast so far than I have before. But we understand bullying is wrong, but we also need to understand what is making the bully do the things that they're doing, because they may not be doing it out of an evil intention, right? The typical stereotype, at least that I've heard, in
Regina George.
Who's Regina George?
Mean Girls.
Oh, that's right. No, I was thinking of Regina.
That movie is almost in his top 10, and he forgets who Regina George is. I'm sorry.
Well, no. I was actually going for another one, but that is another stereotype. Like the bully is coming from that uncaring family. What was the
one you were going
for? But the one I was going for was, like, they come from an abusive background. They come from like a family that is very not responsive in a helpful way towards the emotions of the child, right? And that child becomes a bully.
Well, that's also accurate.
Yes, I'm not saying that's inaccurate.
So this is just a different.
But this is a very different take,
type.
Right?
Yeah.
This is a very different understanding, because Shoya, he's not a bully because his mom is mean.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a bully because of, some kind of character about him that is deficient in a way, right? Like he's not evil. He's not lying.
He's not malicious.
Yeah, he's not malicious. His intentions are not.
He's doing it to be funny. He's doing it to entertain his classmates.
Exactly.
It's not.
He doesn't understand.
He's not trying to hurt her.
Right.
He just doesn't quite care that he's hurting her, and he doesn't understand that he's hurting her. And then it's not the expense of his games.
It's not until it hurts his mom that he begins to understand what he's doing. Right.
Well, because his classmates aren't doing anything. The only person who's acting even remotely hurt by it is Shoko. His classmates are they
join in.
They're kind of faking being bothered, but
no, they kind of join in, right? Ueno makes fun of.
Well, so do Kawai and the other ones too.
Kawai is
Sahara's the only one who doesn't make fun of her, and then she leaves.
Right.
So she was a coward in her own way.
Well, she admits
and she says that at the end.
And so so all of them are dealing with things that they don't know how to properly function. Like at the end, Shoya is like, I should have just asked her. Like I should have just asked her what she thought of me, and all these different. But what did he do? He instead teased her, bullied her, sprayed water on her hair, all these different things, because kids don't really know necessarily how to interact socially very, very, very well. At least not if they're not taught very well, right? And so this is a very different look at at the subject of bullying that doesn't make any single person the villain of the piece, but rather it comes at it at a kind of angle of how can we understand what's going on and see it in terms of
nothing here is black and white.
Yeah, but how can we see it in terms of what is each person trying to do, right? And I think that's what another part of why this film is so beautiful. I'm going to use that word. Why this film is so beautiful. It's you have these characters, and you can't say this person, like Uzuru, right? Yuzuru. She's the little sister, right?
Yuzuru.
She is very protective of her older sister, right? To the point where she lets Shoya believe that she's the boyfriend.
She's Shoko's boyfriend.
That was a really funny scene. You call him Curly? Is that Curly?
No. Not
Nagatsuka.
Yeah, that one is Curly.
That's Curly, right?
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. When Curly finds out.
I thought you were saying Yuzuru. I'm like, no.
When Curly finds out that Yuzuru is a girl, he's just like,
gone.
Boom, gone.
I knew that already. That's so great.
That was perfect reaction.
Yeah, no. I had I did actually watch this movie on my own. A lot of the movies on Isaac's list, like I've watched with one of my best friends, and it was something where this movie, at one point we were on the phone during that scene, and all of a sudden I just laugh. He's driving, or he was asleep, whatever it was, I'm just like, and it was just this like shocked laughter, and he's like, "What was that?" And I'm like, "This boy finds out that this other boy isn't a boy. She's a girl," and he's gone. Like he hits his arm. He's like, "Hey, what's up, dude?" And then it's like, "Oh wait, nope. I knew that.
That's not appropriate behavior."
It's amazing.
That's great. But Yuzuru is very protective of Shoko, right? But to the point that she doesn't take care of herself.
Yes, and she misses school. There's a whole bunch of stuff. She doesn't really have friends either.
Right, and also to the point that she doesn't understand what her sister is going through,
and what her sister actually needs.
Right, and it's that journey of that character. So none of these characters are.
Well, no one understands the other person, and they're all. It starts with them not really trying to. And then ends with them all being like, wait a second, we need to understand each other a little bit better.
Well, right. So it's one of these films that at the start, no one's perfect. At the end, no one's really perfect at all. Right. They're not super close friends, right? At the end. But they are.
They could be though.
Right. The potential for it. Right. The potential for it is there. Right. The school festival is kind of a date for Shoko and Shoya.
Yeah.
And so. But no one.
And you know that Yuzu and Curly are totally going to be part of that friendship as well.
Oh yeah, sure.
It's just that the other two and Ueno are the only ones that are like, okay, maybe.
Well, so Right. So there you can see the beginnings of the friendship here. So this film isn't trying to take you from like they're not friends, they're terrible people to they are all now friends, great friends, and they're great people. Right. It's more like on the spectrum of character development, maybe they move like 0.5% each, right? Except for Shoya.
But it's
right?
0.5% that a lot of people don't make.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, right.
So it's still an impressive 0.5%, even if it is only 0.5%.
Right. So I'm not trying to take away from that, right?
Just that it's a small shift, not a huge giant like we've saved the world and we're now best buddies and we're gonna live forever and change things.
Right. I would say that other than Shoya, all of them are kind of like only shifting a little bit, right? Shoya and Shoko are the main ones that shift a lot.
They do.
Right. But even if they're not perfect in the end, you know, the potential of their growth is still there, right? Mm-hmm. And you still are journeying with these characters for this 2-hour amount of time, which I really, really enjoy.
Mm-hmm. I feel like with the characters, I love like the depth, like how they're, especially because like.
Do you have a favorite character? I do have a favorite character.
It switches each time that I've watched it. It switched.
It's changed.
Yeah.
So you're like, I'm going in. I love this character, and then suddenly you fall in love with another character.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like Shoko is amazing. But I also love Shoya. Curly is delightful and wonderful and funny and silly.
Is it because it's harder to pronounce his full name?
Kind of. Honestly.
I mean, it is, 5 syllables?
I was calling Shoya Yasho like most of the time anyways because that's Curly's name for him.
Right. Yeah.
So
that's
like,
what it is in my head because that's what he calls him.
I'm glad I'm not.
But that's why I have so much difficulty. I have to scroll all the way back up on my notes and be like, Shoya, okay, Shoya. Okay, Shoya.
But then like I both love and hate Kawaii. Like I don't like her because she's the most like narcissistic out of them all.
She is narcissism embodied.
Yeah, but it's also like it's still impressive because in her own way she does still try to be nice. So like she's fascinating. Right. So even if I don't like her as a person, she's fascinating.
Because that's when you have to go like you have to take a step back and kind of self-assess a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because a person who does such nice things and especially on the outside and does all the behaviors of a nice person, yet
still a freaking narcissist.
Like she's
so self-centered, cannot see through anyone else's perspective and doesn't want to. Is personally offended when you try to do that. Like,
right. But then you kind of see that and you go. I mean, if you're self-aware, right? If you're self-aware, you kind of take a step back and be like, wait, am I like this?
Oh, I've done that. Right? I still like everyone in my life has been like, there is no way you're a narcissist, and I'm still like, it could be true. Like I'm like, no, I might be a narcissist.
Maybe everyone else doesn't think so, but maybe I am.
What if I am?
Right?
What if I've just manipulated everyone?
Right, exactly.
Everyone into thinking that I'm not a narcissist. Yeah. That's like up there with like my beautiful mind fear. It's like right under that. It's that's like the beautiful mind. Like I'm afraid I've made everyone up, and then like the thing that's right under that if they were combined, it would be my true nightmare. Is not only have I made everyone up, I've made everyone up so that way I can hold on to my narcissism because I have all these fake people around me that are like, "You're not a narcissist. We're all real. It's cool," and I'm like,
excellent.
It hurts.
Excellent.
Anyway, but
I know exactly how to prank you. Thank you. And all your friends who are listening to this podcast know exactly how to prank you.
See, but all of those friends, of which it is a small number, have also totally been a part of the "you're not a narcissist" crowd, and so they wouldn't even like.
But they might be part of the prank crowd.
I would have a mental breakdown.
For more Rosemary's friends.
I would have a mental breakdown. I would run away from all of you. So if you want to break from Rosemary, you know what to do. Just be like, you're not a narcissist. We're all real. And just stand there grinning at me for a minute or two. And I'm just going to like, guys, stop. And then when you don't stop, I'm going to start crying. If you still hold your faces like that, I'm going to walk away.
I have a
and
feeling
go
I
hide
know what
somewhere.
your worst nightmare is.
There are a couple aspects of it I haven't mentioned. Now I'm curious.
Especially the uncanny valley in the dreams sometimes. You know, when you have a dream, it's very uncanny sometimes, and the people aren't behaving like real people.
Sometimes, yeah.
But yeah. So, anyways.
Yeah. But
back to this.
Yeah. Now I'm just like thinking of all of my worst nightmares. Usually, it just involves a lot of human beings that are doing like actually atrocious things, like I don't know, like horrible things to kittens and stuff. Like that's
poor kittens.
Yeah. No, really though. Like literally like a few weeks ago I had this horrible nightmare about this and it showed me what they did to the kitten and I'm like, I don't need this image in my head. I don't need this. It was
Have you ever dissected a frog?
I dissected a cow's eye in
that's
like 7th grade.
I think once you dissect an animal, it's like a full animal.
I've seen people dissect cats and stuff, but it wasn't even like different. Dissecting. It was like it's
different from actually doing it. Like you're touching the stuff. Not touching, but with like gloves.
I guess. I feel like as long as I have gloves and stuff, like I don't mind. As long as it doesn't get on my skin, I'm okay. Like
right, yeah. You
dead
don't want it on your skin.
Gelatinous fluids.
So you would be like that girl that we saw in Departures, where her husband comes home after she finds out, and she was like, "This is gross."
I would be like, "Why the heck didn't you tell me?" And he'd be like, "I didn't know how to tell you." And I'm like, "Okay, I need a moment." I wouldn't have left.
Oh no, but remember that scene? She like got all like cringy.
I don't know.
He touched her.
I genuinely don't know because that's different.
Right, I'm not talking about the leaving
Like
part.
if I found out that like my husband was like skinning cats for fun, I'd have a problem. Okay.
Oh my gosh. There's so many prank ideas that you're just giving me. This is amazing.
I don't need this. Anyway, point is
coming back to silent voice.
Yeah, but bullying is not a good thing, Isaac.
You have to find out where the bully is coming from, Rosemary. So yeah, like you have these characters. Kawaii is very narcissistic.
Yes.
Right. I mean, I'm assuming that she was never a favorite character of yours when you were watching.
She was fascinating.
Okay.
And so out of the 4 times, I think it was Shoko and then Shoya and then Yuzuru. Uh-huh.
And then Curly?
I think so. No, I think this last time with being more analytical, I think going back to Shoya.
Shoya? Okay.
Because so he's got 2. He's got 2 times of favorite. But I tend to like the main character because people tend to not like the main character. They tend to be like, I like this random obscure one over here, or like the thing on the other side.
People on the internet tend not to. And then people who aren't on the internet tend to, but they just don't voice their opinions.
Oh, well, people need to voice their opinions more. I even like go out of my way to like talk to quiet people because I want to know what you think. I want to know.
All the quiet people have left the room.
Anyway, they did. They did. They had one conversation with me. They used up all of their person energy for the next decade and just left.
Like, all right, that person is a beautiful mind to me.
That person requires a lot of energy. I shall shore up energy and see her when I'm ready. Years pass.
In decades.
I have 10% of the necessary energy. Anyway, I've gotten
you don't have a favorite.
I don't have a
character.
solid favorite character right now because they're all beautiful. But I guess Shoya is probably my favorite at the moment.
What was your like moment that you were like, man, this is really good?
Every single moment of the movie. I'm like, what are you? No, I guess. Oh, what was there was one. I guess the one that hit me the hardest this time was just like the language barrier because with the friend one of like where she's asking him to be his friend and he's just like, you want me to hold your hand or whatever his boy brain is coming up with, and he throws dirt at her and then later on he's like, I want you to be friends, and he's like, oh, you were asking me to be my friend, oh shit, like that moment. I think that moment in the hallway where he's like, and then also like the moon. And then, but right before that, she was just like, or no, not right before that. Before that, a while ago, she was like, I like you. Right. And he's like, I'm so sorry. What are you saying?
Right.
And she's like, oh, is my voice weird? And he's like, yeah.
Yes.
And then she's like, no. And he's like, wait, no, yeah. But it's like when someone asks you, like, does this look good on me? And you're like, no. But it's like, wait, like you're still pretty. There's just that green should not go with your face. Like it's yeah.
Well, I think it was just the honesty of that no. You're going to be devastated by that no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? So it doesn't really matter what comes after that.
Pretty much.
So I actually have one favorite character throughout this film that has been my favorite character probably since the beginning, and I think you'll be surprised by. It's probably a surprising character for you, but also for most people, I think. My favorite character is Ueno, actually.
Knowing what I know about you, that makes sense.
Why? What do you know about me that makes sense?
Because one, she's interesting. Two, she's extremely honest, and you do value honesty like surprisingly high for someone as like, okay, you do not think that you are sarcastic or cynical. That's not true. You think you're sarcastic. You don't think you're cynical. And so it's something where
I'm cynical? What?
He asks innocently. And so it's something where she's very honest and she's very upfront about the fact that she's like, I don't like you, and I don't like you because you're very self-sacrificing and you hate yourself, and like you keep apologizing, like she thinks that Shoko's pathetic. On top of the way like you're taking this guy away from me that I like, and I don't know what to do about it. So actually, she's a complex character.
Not honest. I wouldn't say she's honest.
I would say she's more honest with herself than any of the other characters are.
I would say she is more direct. Right. And so she's not very honest about her feelings, especially to Shoya. Right?
No, she does not tell him that she likes him like the entire time.
Right. She never tells him that in the film. She never tells him that she likes him.
Okay.
Right? It's very obvious that she does.
Yes.
And it's very obvious that she sees Shoko as competition.
And that he doesn't understand, and neither does Shoko.
And I think she doesn't understand her feelings that she hates Shoko because of that competition. But I think she also has she has feelings for Shoya, but they might be romantic, but I don't think it's placed very well. And the reason, and one of the things, so the thing that made me really like her character was not anything up until the fireworks display, right? And so we have this story, we have the progression of the story, and then they all go, and then they go to
you see her with her family.
Yeah, you can see her with her family. And do you know what the shot is of her with her family?
She has her arms around her siblings.
And okay. So
did I miss it?
I don't know, but the shot is her father is standing off to the left.
To the left, yeah.
And then she has her arms around her siblings.
Yeah.
What's missing?
Mom?
The mom.
Oh. I did. Okay. I remember thinking that. I didn't remember registering that, though.
The mom is not there.
Whoa.
Right? Every part of a film is very purposefully shot.
Which means that she has
had to take care. Right. She has had to be the mom.
And so she doesn't want to take care of Shoko. And she wants Shoya for herself because she's just it's a little childish for her because she didn't really get to be a child.
Right. She has that motherly feeling towards him. That's why she's so furious, right, when this whole thing happened, and it's Shoko's, or in her perception, it's Shoko's fault, right? And this woman who has been her competition and been taking this boy away from her, in her interpretation, from her arms of safety, right? And further and further and further away. And now you get this, and this is what happens. Well, and it's also
the parallel between Shoko's mom whacking Shoya, as well as I think, which is also why the two ladies do the slap fight.
Yeah.
Oh.
Right? Because
I was just like, they're just both hysterical. It's fine.
Think about her words. What she said was, how dare you, incompetent mother, raise these children? You shouldn't have children if you can't raise them right.
Oh, right? I totally missed the mother angle on that.
And it's
that's impressive.
A good setup for that character.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That makes sense.
From there until there, I was like, this character is done so well. I mean, obviously, I don't like, I don't think she's a
like you don't
perfect
admire
person.
her as
I do kind of admire her because she was a one woman like mother to her siblings and probably even to her dad, right?
Ooh,
the
yes.
dad had to rely on her to be the mother,
Yeah.
right? And so she is a very independent kind of stand-up woman, but she doesn't really understand that about herself. And so therefore her feelings like lash out at Shoko. And it's really well done. Very well.
I didn't catch that. Thanks for the angle because I appreciate that.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that's the manga angle.
So many times.
Right.
But no, that makes sense. And again, they do everything in this movie purposefully, so that makes sense that would be that angle.
If you look at the other shots, all of the other shots are the kids alone. Like they're just staring out a balcony, or there's Shoya's sister and Maria and his mother are like looking at the fireworks together, right? And it's a beautiful scene. And then you get this one shot of Ueno's family, and it's really, really telling of what is happening with her character.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah. And so she is my favorite character in the film. She's not perfect. No. Very, very far.
You don't like perfect characters, though. I don't like perfect characters.
Well, I mean, I'm saying she's not perfect, as in she's probably not. You wouldn't really consider her a good person if you were in like that friendship group, I think.
I probably would have. Okay, in terms of friends, I probably would have wanted to be friends with her and with Shoya because Shoko probably would have irritated me. Like, knowing myself. And so, because
So you are the bully. No, I'm kidding.
Yes and no.
I was
again,
kidding,
like I said, both.
You left that silence so.
Well, no, because
so
I've done both. Like most of it has been me being bullied, but there are things like, for example, my little brother. He's 3 years younger than me, and there were times where like he would whack me and it would hurt a certain way. Where I was like no, and so I'd whack him back. I'm like, I'm the bigger, older sibling. It's gonna hurt. So yeah, what he did hurt, but what I did that also hurt is what he's going to remember. He's not gonna remember hurting me, and so there are certain ways that he remembers our childhood that are not. I'm definitely not painting the greatest light.
I don't think you can go through life with an older sibling and not get whacked by them.
Yeah, but like, it wasn't handled very well by anyone.
It teaches your place in the evolutionary chain.
Well, and then it was also something where like, okay, so for me, ironically, in 6th grade, it was my first year in public school, and like almost everyone made fun of me. Partially because I was one of like 4 white kids. Okay, and mostly
is that including like Black, Latino, Latina, Asian, but you're not counting them.
I think there were more Asians than there were white people, but everyone else was pretty much like Black and Hispanic.
Okay,
that was it. And so the only reason I didn't get in more fights was because I was tall for my age, as well as white, which means that I towered over most of everyone else anyways.
So people like bullied you like behind your back, whispering kind of thing.
No, they would do it to my face because I wasn't gonna strike first. And so they would just they would insult me and they would tease me, and
you up there.
They might have also mentioned they might have meant it in a hey, I want to be friends with you kind of way, so I'm gonna make fun of you.
You didn't
homeschool me did not understand that. And so I remember it was more than halfway through the year, and I was really upset because one, I had like perfect grades. Again, I was homeschooled, so I knew how to study. I knew how to answer questions. I was like the only person in class who wanted to answer questions. Like that was baffling to me. That I'm the only one here who wants to be here, like, and learn things.
Yeah, welcome to public school.
With all these people, and I ended up kind of almost leading a bit of a rebellion against the teacher because I was so pissed that he wasn't doing his job. That I was just like, how dare you not educate these children? Oh. Like we're here to learn, and I'm the only one you're teaching. Like I was the teacher's pet, and I was like, that's wrong. Like, you shouldn't give me special treatment because I'm good at learning. That means you need to put effort into your other students because you're clearly not helping them.
Oh, yeah. I don't like the teacher.
Yeah. No, I don't like the teacher either.
Silent voice.
He is cute, though. They did the animation. He's attractive. But that's about it. Anyway.
He's attractive, but he's
horrible
he's just
teacher.
as much of a bully as
Yeah, he watched all of it happen and he didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything.
Anyway, but the point was that it was something where it was past halfway. I don't think it was fully into like the 4th quarter yet though. But there was this girl who she was kind of bullied too, in a slightly different way, and it was kind of more mean. and I didn't bully her, but we weren't friends. It was like this kind of like half thing where we would occasionally talk, and she was really smart, and I was smart in just in an obvious way. And so there were times that we had talked, but there was I don't even remember like the day that it happened, but I remember the scene in my head, and it was something where she had come up to me and I don't even remember what she said, but she said something, and I had been so down about class. I'd been down about the way that the kids were. I was down about the teachers. I was down about my family. I was down about like everything that could possibly make me feel bad had made me feel bad. I guess I hadn't experienced a death in the family and I didn't have cancer, but like everything else had happened. And I might even have been around the time that the second CPS case happened in my life too. So it's like no. And I remember that like one of the nicknames for her had been like gorilla, because she had a unibrow. She was also like in 6th grade. No one freaking cares about your face. And
everyone cares about your face.
Okay, everyone cares about your face, but it's also like no one cares about their own face. Like the ones who care about their face, like that's kind of sad actually, that like you have
I would disagree, but
the time and effort to go put on like makeup
but
and stuff.
I would say 6th grade, if you have a unibrow, you're gonna have a rough time.
Yeah. And so like I wasn't mean to her up until that point, but in that one moment, like I still remember like I was like go away gorilla. Like I remember saying that because I was so just down, and I was like, I can't deal with this.
So you're like Shimada. A little bit. So the blonde friend of Shoya. So he was like, there was Nishimiya
like I'm
or
more
Shoko,
like
who was bullied, and then she left, and then everybody told on Shoya.
Yeah.
And then the blonde friend, that's the one I'm talking about, Shimada.
Yeah.
Shimada.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he started bullying and getting away from.
Well, but he started bullying Shoya. That's why, like, again, I relate to this movie, but it's from like, I don't know what character would most fit. It's not quite Shimada though. But anyway, but that was so like that
part of this movie that's really interesting is that they're, again, like in the beginning, you don't have heroes, you don't have villains. They're all kind of in on this, right? But then, especially Shoya, he kind of grows to have this understanding now that he's been bullied, right? It's wrong to that this kind of happened.
Yeah. It's
my fault. I need to make up for it, right?
Yeah.
His part is this self-hatred, anxiety kind of thing that he goes through, and it's his journey of. I mean, you said this. He was your favorite character throughout this time watching it, and so he's going through this. I think it's the first time I saw the X's, I thought it was really interesting.
I thought it was interesting. I didn't understand it at first.
I thought it was interesting, but the second, third time, fourth time, I didn't really like it very much. And I don't know why, actually.
Because you actually do that with people.
Right.
You just don't put an X over their face.
Right. So it's not. I didn't have a problem with that part. I don't know why I had a problem. I don't remember why I had a problem with the X. I don't have a problem with it anymore.
Interesting.
But it's interesting when the X's fall and who the X's fall from. Right. So do you know who the first person is that?
I thought it was Curly.
X's fall.
Yeah.
Okay, so his is the
and
first.
And it's when he
fall.
brings the bike back, and he's like, yeah, I found it. I had to scrounge for it and look through 3 things, blah, 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 and I found it.
Do you know whose is the last to fall before all the X's fall?
I thought it was Ueno.
It is Ueno.
Yeah.
But do you know how it happens? Because for everybody else, you see their face and the X falls. But that doesn't happen with Ueno.
You see it from behind.
You don't see it.
You just see the X on the ground, and she no
X
longer has the X
on the ground. Yeah.
The closest interpretation that I have at the moment, without fact checking anything, is
you don't need to fact check this. I'm just
with you. I do, but
I'm just saying that it's her ex falling is very different.
It seems like it has to do with connection and with understanding other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's like, as she's walking away, like, it clicks for him, and that's one of the reasons he's like, oh, okay, I see you. And with everyone else, it's like he can also see them like as human, and in that connection of humanity, he can understand that everyone's connected again, versus before he just felt isolated and alone and like, no, this is not a thing, and he couldn't do that for a while. I think connect.
For me, it's not a fact checking thing, but it's interesting because after that he goes back to school, and whenever he opens a door, like everybody just all the exes that come up because he gets that anxiety, he can't face everybody, right?
Yup.
So her ex falls before that. So obviously the exes have to do with anxiety, right? It's the anxiousness of not being able to face up to somebody and look at them, not wanting to. Being afraid to measure up, right, to the face. You don't get it, or you do?
I get it. My brain was, I liked the coping mechanism. He's like, well, I can't just look down. And she's like, why not? And then he just stared down at the ground.
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah,
it's a coping mechanism. Like, he has a coping mechanism for that, but it's part of that anxiety, right?
Yeah.
I think it's like you don't see Ueno's ex falling from her face. You see it falling to the ground. He's still looking at the ground at that point, right? But her walking away was kind of like permission to look back, to be connected again, right?
Yeah.
After that, none of the friends have the ex, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no, none of the friends have the ex.
None of the friends have the ex. And so his journey becomes, he was a bully, is the bully, or sorry, what was bully, is bullied, right? And then has this kind of self-hatred aspect about him. Like, he really doesn't like himself.
Yeah.
Right? And he has to... I'm not sure if at the end he's completely cured of that.
Probably not.
But his anxiety of being like in a cast of shameful people, right, is kind of gotten rid of. Right? He is able to have friends again. Right? That journey of being able to have friends.
Well, and being able to be a friend. He didn't really know.
Right.
He had just had friends before 6th grade, and then when 6th grade happened, he no longer had friends and was like, wait, how the heck do I do this? And he just kind of gave up.
How do you have friends? That's like one of the central questions.
Yeah, it's one of the themes is how do you have friends? And he learns how to have friends from Curly. That's how he figures it out. And it was also so cute because you can see that when he's trying to like make Shoko feel better, and he like, you can see the mannerisms, like he's doing to her what Curly did to him to like rehabilitate. It was just like, it's so good. Anyway.
Well, I guess you'll now that you said Curly so much, it's stuck in my head. But it's Nagatsuka, right? Nagatsuka, right? He is also the one that helps Shoko bring everybody back. Right? And so he's kind of that connection point between everybody.
Yeah, he's the warm, fuzzy glue thing that maybe not fuzzy. Fuzzy's the wrong word. My apologies. He's like just glue.
Yeah.
He's just nice.
And so in that journey of, like growing up, in a sense, like you're learning how to be friends and how friendship works and how these things, and it's like, I think the almost like the revelation at the end is to be a friend is not necessarily about the good things that you do, right? But to be able to be free of your own, in this case, anxiety, right? In Shoko's case, that self-hatred that she had, right? Shame and kind of self-punishing, needing to feel like you have to make up for your past. You have to make up for something that you did that was wrong, right? And being free of that, right? Because he's not doing everything right at the end. He's not really doing much at the end.
Hmm.
Right? It wasn't him that built the friendships back together. It wasn't him that did anything. He wasn't the connection point.
Mm-hmm.
But for him, that friendship is, what does it mean to be friends? Are there qualifications? That was that question that he asked in the beginning. And then and the answer to that is, well, it's not about what you have to do for other people, right? It's more of an answer of who are you on the inside, right?
That makes sense. I feel like that's, again, one of the reasons why this isn't higher on my list is because of the fact that this is like, it is stuff that I'm struggling with like right now. And so like while you're talking about this, my brain is just like, I usually think that I don't deserve my friends, but it's not about deserving that. It's not, you don't deserve or not deserve love.
That's the very same thing that he was going through.
Yeah.
I don't deserve my friends, right? I don't deserve anything. I was the bully.
Yeah.
I was the one that was causing harm to this person.
And so it's something where, that's just something that I struggle a lot with. And even when my friends are like, that's not how it works. And I'm like, I am aware that that's not how it works, but it doesn't change my feelings. It doesn't change the shame and the sadness that I experience on a regular basis about it. And then because I'm allowing myself to like experience that, but I'm not experiencing it fully in a way where it passes, it's just this stuck there thing. It ends up like I either hurt my friends with it or I keep it to myself, and then it never really gets dealt with. And so there's
a moment in the film where Ueno is trying to reconnect, because she thinks this is the thing now, right? We don't want to reconnect with all our friends.
No. Yes, but that's the thing. But like, no.
And so she tries to reconnect Shoya with
Shimada?
Yeah, Shimada, right?
Shimada.
I
whatever
could be
it
pronouncing
is.
that name
Blonde
wrong.
dude.
Yeah, the blonde kid, right?
Yeah.
And then the blonde kid is like,
don't mess with it.
Right? Don't come in between people, right? And that is actually when Shoya realizes who is giving him the food. And then the exes immediately come back.
Yeah.
And then he actually goes into hiding. Ueno's talking to him, and he goes, "Don't come between people. You don't know what you're doing," right? And then in that process, he realizes, I'm actually doing the same thing that Shimada did to me.
Yeah.
Right? And that self-cycling happens, right? It's that cycle of shame where you feel shameful for what you did. You do the thing that you're shameful for, which puts you into more shame because you are now part of that process. You've imbibed that process. And in this film, of course, it's the understanding, hey, you can't really qualify yourself to be a good person and deserving of friendship and love. It's actually these things need to be lifted off of you for you to be able to function. For Shoko, it was self-hatred. Right? She didn't understand that these kids were just being kids. Yeah. She thought it was all her fault. And so she thought, if I could just die, everything would be fine.
Well, and that's the thing is like,
confirmed by what Ueno said, right? Even though Ueno didn't mean it in that way, right? Ueno meant it in the way of, you are my competition and I hate you, right? For what you did. I hate what you did because when you came in, this happened, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't recognize that it's actually, everybody has a part in this, right? And it's not really just Shoko's fault, right? But Shoko took it that way.
I feel like one of the other things was the fact that Shoya also has a background that could have been made fun of.
Yes.
And so it's something where it's amusing that
his mom's a hairdresser.
His sister, Mary, I'm assuming he's black. He looks black.
I think he's Brazilian.
That makes more sense because I'm like, it was interesting. But yeah,
well, he's darker. He's not Asian.
She marries someone who's darker, so it's also like a mixed marriage. Plus they aren't able to take their daughter with them. Oh, Maria's freaking adorable. Oh my goodness, she's cute.
Every scene she's in, I'm just like,
I
want to hug her.
Yes. That's honestly who I was fighting about is
Being
that
your favorite character?
Yeah.
Maria's just your
but
favorite
she's
character.
not in it enough.
Maria's everyone's favorite character.
She's so
when we ask about favorite characters,
Are you
obviously
serious?
Maria's. No, I don't know.
Oh, I'm like, really? Like, oh, okay. But she's adorable.
I was kidding.
She's
She is
so
adorable.
precious. But the point is, like, someone can always be made fun of for something.
Right.
Always. And so people can bully other people or make fun of other people for those things, regardless of whether or not they're aware of the fact that they could be made fun of for similar things. I don't know. It's just it's such an interesting thing, these spirals and shame. And like, shame is good for boundaries, for letting you know, hey, I messed up something, let me fix it. And instead, if you fix it in a way that brings you even more shame because you're like, wait, I fixed it wrong, it's like this never-ending cycle of shame that's very difficult.
I would
to
say
get out
shame
of.
is the wrong way to do a boundary, but of course boundaries are important, right? Shame is kind of like a part of self-hatred that is quite negative, right?
Well, there's a difference between healthy shame and unhealthy shame, though.
Right. So you when you say shame,
The shame that I was specifically referring to was unhealthy shame. It's this stuck cycling spiral thing. But there is healthy shame. And the healthy shame was the one that can help you with boundaries, not the unhealthy one.
Right. So I would say
Sorry.
that the quote unquote healthy shame is just boundaries, having correct boundaries.
Yes.
Right.
And respecting your own boundaries, too.
Right.
And not allowing society to dictate what you're doing. It's that you understand that this is my honor, this is my integrity, and these are the rules that I'm going to follow.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was Silent Voice.
Goodness gracious. So,
pretty big movie.
And I'm still impressed with how speechless we are. I actually thought that we would get more excited about this. And, like, we are excited, but I was expecting more words. And so I guess now I'm just curious because you have watched this, like, so many times, dude.
Well, every time I was trying to kind of bring it back from your stories about bullying. I was like, how am I going to tie this? How am I going to tie this into the film? All right, let me try. All right, I'm going to talk about anxiety and bullying. Okay, let me bring it back there. All right, that's okay. But it is my second favorite film of all time.
Yes.
Number 2 on my list, and it's probably going to be. I can't imagine actually a film that would beat it. Because I think this film just shows me just how much you can explore. Because what Inside Out showed me was how you can explore a single person really, really in depth. Mm-hmm. But what this...
Well, in Prince of Egypt shows you what you can do with animation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
so
this is an animation.
This is both.
Right. I love the camera work.
The camera work's fantastic.
It's just...
The angle, just...
it's like a real
away.
camera.
Yeah.
It's like you are filming a real thing in real life, but they're doing it with animation. Mm-hmm. It's just the colors pop. Every shot and every
it has
frame
like
is
the
just so
similar
beautiful.
style to like My Neighbors the Yamadas and like the Princess Kaguya. They're both Studio Ghibli films, Miyazaki films.
I know, but I don't see the similarity that you're talking about.
I guess maybe it's just how I saw the drawing style, but it was it felt like they brought a manga to life. Like it didn't feel like the 3D animation. It felt like very sketched out.
So what I mean is
2D?
like if you go back and watch the film, when you go back and watch the film, right? Mm-hmm. You're gonna find that these there are these camera shots that are very purposefully like someone had a real camera and was trying to film something. Right.
Was taking a shot. Yeah.
And so an example I would give is the depth of field. So when you have you're filming something, and then if you want the audience to focus on something, what you do is you focus the lens on that particular object or person. Mm-hmm. And so that a lot of the other things around it become blurred, especially in the background. Mm-hmm. That's usually not a technique that animations have, because animations, you kind of do that by the motion of the animation. So generally the things that you want to have in the shot that people pay attention to, you just animate them. And the things that aren't, you don't want them to pay attention to, you just don't animate them, so that the viewer is kind of fooled in a sense of like the thing I'm supposed to pay attention to is the thing that's moving, right? That's typically how animation is done. But the way that this film is done is it's like a real film where the subject of focus is
actually kind of still.
Well, yeah, a lot of times they're still, right? A lot of times it's actually just a shot of someone's like hand or the phone or something like that, and it zooms like the depth of vision changes to change that shot. That's a camera move that you use in film to help the audience go from one end to the other, right? Nice. And so they do that here, and it's really, really well done. I mean, obviously, next time you watch it, like pay attention, like you can pay attention to that stuff. Go like, oh, the reason why my eyes are drawn to him specifically or her specifically is actually, if you look around, everything else is kind of blurry, right? And it's actually the way that human beings see.
Yes.
Right. When we look at like the microphone on your side or the music stand on that side or the keys or piano or whatever, your eyes actually see that, and then everything else on the periphery is kind of blurred out. And so the way it's filmed is very much like the human eye that's shot, and that's one of the camera techniques that they use, and it's used really, really well in this film. From the portrait shots to the object shots to the medium shots and everything like that. And so I really love that aspect of it. And so so coming back to what I was saying before, what this film really did was show me like what you can do even in an animation of an exploration of not just a single character, but all these characters, right? You don't need necessarily a super, complicated plot, right? The characters, if you design them really, really well, will hold everything up, even if there's a almost non-existent plot. Well, and there is an existent plot, but I'm just saying. Yeah. Right? And so that this film is that, and it creates a sort of kind of like you can go back into this film and you can watch it from a different character's perspective. And because the film is done so well, you can actually watch it from a different character's perspective, right? You don't have to follow the same main character, right? The second time I watched this, because of that first time experience where I was like, oh my gosh, I really like Ueno. I don't, why do I like her character so much right now? And so when the second time, the back-to-back one, the second time I watched it, I followed her character the entire way through. And I was like, oh my gosh, this character is awesome. Like, they did this so well with her. And then
I am curious now. I'm pretty sure Shoya is still going to continue to be my favorite because of his character. No, I just know that I tend to like things when people I respect or care about like them too. And so I have to remind myself verbally that, like, wait a second, I have my own likes and dislikes. It's not you're trying to convince me. It's that my brain is automatically like, yeah, sure, let's go with that. I'm like, no, stop it. So I have to do that.
So this is the film that made me go, oh man, I want to be able to write stories and design characters where every time someone rereads something, right, they're able to follow the life of another character rather than the one that is the main protagonist.
I feel like that's something that with my stories, because again, character matters more to me than plot, always. And so it's something where depth of character is important, and I love having characters that you can hold on to and that I can hold on to, that I can go back and really just get in touch with and be like, yep, nope, I still understand why I wrote that character. I feel what they're feeling. I see what they're seeing. I understand. Like, I can go through that and still learn things from characters that I created. Like, they still teach me things. Yeah. And so with this movie, again, one of the reasons why I have it so highly, again, I don't have a lot of animated films in my top 10, and I don't have a lot of newer films in my top 10.
Too. No, I'm kidding. Technically, that's not an animated film.
I'm like, there's so much CGI, but it's technically not animated. But no, it's something where it's because of the fact that the character, it can stand alone on its characters. Like, even
like you can just sit back and just think about the characters.
Yeah, like you could watch the reason why this is a manga is because of the fact that it's like a TV show. Like, you could just watch these characters exist in an environment, and they're gonna create their own drama. They're gonna create their own conflicts, and you could just watch as it happens. Like, I just watched The Great Escape last night. It's an older movie, and it's based on a true story about World War II. There were a bunch of Englishmen that were kidnapped by Germans, a couple of Americans, 3 Americans, some Australians, some Scottish people. Anyway, random people that were all working for the Allies and were not.
Captured these people?
The Germans captured these people.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the British were captured by Germans, Americans, and Australians.
No.
Like,
Sorry.
I'm pretty sure
there
that didn't
were a bunch
happen
of people
in World War II.
on the Allies side that were captured by the Germans again, and they put all of the people who'd escaped multiple times before in the same camp. So you have like 250, 300
I've never
people.
seen this movie, by the way. So.
That's cool. So you have 250, 300 people who are trained escape artists in the same camp. And the Germans did this on purpose.
Right.
Okay? And so anyway, their escape is fascinating, but it's something where like as the movie's happening, I had to keep reminding myself like this is based on a true story. Like they actually they corroborated the story with all the people that survived. Like this story is put together from like everyone that had contact with what happened, and so it's as accurate as it could possibly be as far as a history. And half the movie I was just like, did this actually happen? Like this is like that's amazing for plot, like it's amazing for conflict, like oh my goodness, this is beautifully done. And then I'm like, this happened in real life. So it's one of those things where with these characters from The Shape of Voice, you have this depth where like this could be based on true story.
Yeah.
You know that these people could be real people. You could go out and find a situation like this.
If we find out from one of our listeners that this is actually based on a true story, like the mango was based on a book that was based on a true story.
That would be interesting. Well, clearly, like the writer would have drawn from their own personal experiences, so part of it's probably.
I mean,
based
a lot
on
of the bullying is cultural. So what happens in this kind of context is the isolation that Shoya experiences is very, very, very common. It's very common in the school culture that this film is trying to portray. Isolation of a outsider or someone who's perceived as an outsider or a person you're not supposed to engage with. Yeah. Very, very, very prominent.
Interesting.
It's very sad. So
that makes sense.
So yeah, this
That's
film
why
is
they have
definitely
all the animes that are about like the one new girl who does something and is somehow loved by the super popular kids.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't happen.
Because that's more of a fantasy.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Exactly. It's a fantasy because of that is prominent in that culture.
Yeah. So, with that, we are done with Silent Voice, which is my number 2.
Woo, and my number 5.
And your
which
number
is
5.
A respectable thing. Okay.
So on Rosemary's list, we have now done all of our movies, both of our lists, except for number 1.
Yeah.
Rosemary's list. Do you want to go down your list from 10 to 2?
Sure. Let's.
You can't just remember it off the top of your head.
Because it shifted. It shifted so much, dude.
Well, you know what's number 10, right?
Yes. So number 10 is Palm Springs. Woo, because it is still a fun movie to watch, okay? I watched it like 6 times in like 2 weeks, okay?
Let me know in a couple weeks if it's still number 10.
No, I told you. I've already switched it for Happy Death Day.
But, no, just watch it one more time. And see if it's still number 10.
I'll still like it. Okay, so number 9 is Tropic Thunder.
Whoop, whoop.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Especially Greenleaf. Oh, ye of fake non-hands. And then number 8 is Your Name, which again, it's an animated film that
Your Name came out the same year as
it came out before.
Katachi. Yes, it did.
Yeah.
It came out before.
It stunned the world before, and then Silent Voice was just like, nah, this is ours.
No. So in both Japan and the States, Your Name, or not the States, but globally, right? Your Name has far more accolades. And popularity. So I watched Koe No Katachi about a year after I saw Silent Voice. And then I was like, why haven't I heard of this movie before? And I looked back and I was like, okay, Your Name. Why wasn't this more popular than Your Name? And I was really mad.
That is weird.
And so I do. Obviously, because it's on my list.
You like.
I love Koe No Katachi a lot more.
Yeah.
But what was interesting as I was researching, this might be more hearsay, but I'm pretty sure this is true. But the director of Your Name saw Koe No Katachi, and he was like, Naoko Yamada has done something that I could never do. And
you
so
told me that before, yes.
Yeah, so he was actually so impressed by Shape of Voice.
He was like, I will hand it over. Like, I'm not actually going to hand over my awards, but like, I will hand over the metaphorical
Well, he can't
awards.
hand over any awards, right? But it's like, in his own words, he was like, this movie surpasses anything that I could ever do. Which, of course, is part of, I mean, he's actually a really humble guy. And so I'm not going to try to take anything away from him, but even the director of the most popular movie that year said that this movie was good.
Yep, no, it's good stuff.
That's my argument.
Okay, the number 7 is Deadpool 2, because I gotta have my Mark with a mouth. He's amazing. He's great. He's good stuff. And Ryan Reynolds does him justice.
Ryan Reynolds is him.
Yes, just like Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man.
There was a rumor that Ryan Reynolds actually prepared his entire movie career just to do play Deadpool. There's a rumor, I think, where like from the very first movie he did, he made sure that the typecast of him was the character of Deadpool, right? So all of his movies is that character basically.
There's no way.
He is that personality, not character, but
I
that
love that conspiracy theory, but like.
Well, this just means that you have to watch all of Ryan Reynolds' movies.
I'm not watching Green Lantern again. Actually,
even in Green Lantern, he was a little bit.
He's the reason why Green Lantern didn't completely suck.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
he was
the only
redeeming factor of the entire movie.
Well, he doesn't even think he was a redeeming factor.
No, he doesn't. He shot himself multiple times. He's happy that character's dead.
Yeah. What's your number 6?
6 is Departures, which is it really. It just.
It is a good film.
Honestly, that one and Silent Voice are very, very similar for me. That's why they're in that order, is because of the fact that they have a reverence as well as a levity to them that I really appreciate. And so, but yeah, so Departures is my number 6. And then 5 is Silent Voice. Woo! Because it is amazing. It is fantastic. And I do love it a lot, especially for an animation. I'm usually very picky with animations. So the fact that that one and Your Name were on here, despite Isaac's arguments, it is actually surprising for me. I didn't expect them to be on there. My number 4 is Princess Bride, which is a lifelong passion, and I like. I'm just kidding. At some point, I might have like here's my
guilty
nostalgic top 10 of like these are the movies that define me and define my writing and define my childhood, and that will always be on that list.
Sure.
It might at some point, but I really love.
I mean, Castle in the Sky is one of those for me.
Yes, you do really like that movie. You're actually upset that I don't like that movie more.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
That's why we're not better friends, actually. Yeah. I have a line. It's Castle in the Sky.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, but Princess Bride is my number 4. And then number 3 is Knight's Tale, which it's witty, it's well written, it's fun. I want to be part of that friend group. Like, I love that so much. All of it endears me to it. The only thing is, like, the main lady chick is not the way I would change her. But other than that,
I like how you danced and tiptoed around what you were about to say. What were you about to say, Rosemary? It's okay. You don't have to.
Anyway, and then my number 2 is Count of Monte Cristo, which is one of my favorite plot lines of all time. If there was a well-done Beauty and the Beast movie, it would be there instead. But Count of Monte Cristo is there because
So you're saying that if there was a really, really, really good Beauty and the Beast movie, you would switch it for Count of Monte Cristo?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely, hands down.
Cool.
There just isn't one. But yeah, those are my 10 through 2.
That is 10 through 2 for you. 10 through 2 for me is the 10th one is The Matrix.
Hey.
Good movie. 9th is Arrival.
So gorgeous.
Which Rosemary thinks should be higher.
So gorgeous.
Because number 8 is Blade Runner. And she definitely thinks that
Arrival's better than Blade Runner. I think that Blade Runner might have slightly more character depth to it, and that in that way I can see why you have it higher.
That is one reason. I actually was thinking about that.
Though.
That is one reason when I was formulating my list. I was looking at Arrival and I was like, I really do like this film, but it was a kind of a recency effect kind of thing where I had just seen it again, I guess. I think. Yeah. And so, and then I watched Blade Runner again. I was like, okay,
you're like, nah, Blade Runner's higher. I can't justify it. Yeah.
So number 7 is The Big Short.
Woo!
Good movie. Everyone should watch this movie. If you do watch this movie, prepare to be a little bit depressed.
Yes.
Because this is that one movie on my list that's kind of like, our world is going to collapse.
But they have the cast to make up for it.
The characters do much of the heavy lifting and making it a hopeful story, right?
Yeah.
But of course, the situation even at the end is not the happiest ending.
They're like, there were no consequences for any of the guys involved with destroying America.
Well, destroying the world.
Destroying the world.
The world. Yeah. Number 6 is a little bit happier.
Woo!
A lot happier, actually. The Prince of Egypt. Very, very... that is still, whenever I think back on it, a fondness for that animation.
Yeah.
Number 5, Tropic Thunder, which is number 9 on Rosemary's list. Yeah. So by her justification, her list is higher than my list, I guess. But whatever. Yep. Number 4
each have our own. Number 4
is The Dark Knight with Christopher Nolan and Christian Bale.
Batman.
Oh, I wish that was like at the end, like in the credits. After you get that you get Batman. That would have been epic.
Marvelous.
All right.
That could have been a pun.
Yeah, no.
Because Marvel. Yeah. Because DC. Making fun of it. Anyway, sorry. Keep going.
Number 3 is Inside Out, which we did last time.
Yeah.
We had that last time. Number 2 is Koe No Katachi, or A Silent Voice, which we just did today. And number 1. What is our number 1, Rosemary? Do you want to say it together, or do you want to... Because it is our number 1. It's not just our number 1.
We do agree on this.
Even though
this is the reason why there's potential for actual friendship with us, is because the values and everything of this one film
cascades down to everything else. Yeah.
Like, I can forgive him for loving Blade Runner and other things. He can kind of barely accept
No, I kind of berated
fact.
You until you had Palm Springs out of your list.
Well, no, because I watched Palm Springs enough and we talked about it enough, so it wasn't quite berating me out of it. It was also like, again, you said I had to come up with the top 10. I struggled for months to come up with the top 10, and I couldn't come up with a whole 10. So a couple of these got tossed in there.
You still hear the anger in her voice.
A couple of these got tossed in there because I needed a top 10.
Well, I'm glad of all the tossings that you included Silent Voice and I'm obviously Tropic Thunder.
Yeah. Anyway,
so
I'm glad you like Departures. But yeah, so our number 1
is The Lord of the Rings. Loader.
Oh, it's so good.
Now, some of you may be asking, wait, The Lord of the Rings, that is a film? Yes, and yes, it is a film. It is a very long film that was split up into 3.
It's perfect.
Obviously, we're referring to the Peter Jackson trilogy. That was released in 2001, 2002, and 2003. The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King.
Yes.
And next time, we are going to do The Lord of the Rings, and we will be explaining why this is a top 1 of our list and not top 3.
Yeah.
But suffice to say, we will be breaking the episode of The Lord of the Rings up into 3, just like there are 3 films, 3 movies, and 3 parts.
But be prepared to be surprised.
And so we are excited to do that. This is going to be our finale for our top 10 list of movies for all time. Well, at least for now, for Rosemary.
Yeah. Hey, your list could change too.
That's true.
There are good movies that can happen before you die.
I guess that was our draw from the hat. So now we go to our Dime segment.
So
we have a quote or a joke.
It is a quote.
It's
a
quote. You laughed at that. All right. That was our joke, guys.
I quoked.
And that is our Dime segment. Signing off.
Okay,
kidding.
So this
what do you have for us, Rosemary?
This is a little long. It's actually a poem. The poem is called A Tear and a Smile. And when I read it, I was like, whoa, this fits. And so, anyway. It's by Khalil Gibran, I believe that's how you pronounce it. It's it's just a poem. Anyway,
it's okay. You can spell it out so people know what the name is. Khalil is spelled
Cahlil.
It's just in case people want to look the person up.
Gibran is Gibran. Khalil
Gibran.
It's either Gibran or Gibran, and Gibran makes more sense.
Okay, I just think LeBron in my head.
We were talking about basketball.
Whoa. Whoa. We better wrap this up before something really drastic happens. Wow, that was unbelievable, actually.
That's worse than trash talking Michael Jordan.
A little bit.
I'm so sorry, guys. Anyway, this is the poem.
Baseball.
I'm so sorry. I did not. I don't even know why that was in my head.
I don't either. We didn't even talk about baseball today.
We haven't talked about baseball. All right. Poetry
by LeBron or Gibran.
Okay. I would not exchange the sorrows of my heart for the joys of the multitude. I would not have the tears that sadness makes to flow from my every part turn into laughter. I would that my life remain a tear and a smile. A tear to purify my heart and give me understanding of life's secrets and hidden things. A smile to draw me nigh to the sons of my kind and to be a symbol of my glorification of the gods. A tear to unite me with those of broken heart. A smile to be a sign of my joy in existence. I would rather that I died in yearning and longing than that I live weary and despairing. I want the hunger for love and beauty to be in the depths of my spirit, for I have seen those who are satisfied, the most wretched of people. I have heard the sigh of those in yearning and longing, and it is sweeter than the sweetest melody. With evening's coming, the flower folds her petals and sleeps, embracing her longing. At morning's approach, she opens her lips to meet the sun's kiss. The life of a flower is longing and fulfillment, a tear and a smile. The waters of the sea become vapor and rise and come together and are a cloud. And the cloud floats above the hills and valleys until it meets the gentle breeze, then falls weeping to the fields and joins with the brooks and rivers to return to the sea, its home. The life of clouds is a parting and a meeting, a tear and a smile. And so does the spirit become separated from the greater spirit to move in the world of matter, and pass as a cloud over the mountain of sorrow and the plains of joy to meet the breeze of death and return whence it came, to the ocean of love and beauty and to God. So, that's...
Now, why did you choose that quote?
I chose that one because you don't want to just be sad. You don't want to just be happy. You want to experience all that humanity and being a human being has to offer you. And with Koe No Katachi, it's something where these are experiences that you don't want to give up. When you experience them, you're happy that you've lived through them because they make you a better person. They give you depth. They give you life. They give you everything that you need in order to survive this world. And so it's something where while it is difficult to rejoice when things are sorrowful, when things are sad or hurting, or something makes you angry, life is unfair, and you're like, this isn't fair, this isn't okay, and you get upset. That's okay. And it's also okay to enjoy life, and it's also okay to be happy. And you need that constant back and forth. You need that ebb and flow. You need that. And so the idea of I would that my life remain a tear and a smile. It hit me, and it was something where to me it fit this movie, because this movie is about laughter as well as the pain. You have the bullying, but you also have the desire to be friends. You have figuring life out, and you end up hurting your family in the process, and friends make it difficult sometimes, but they also make it better, and family can lift you up and drag you down. It just depends. Sometimes family is protective in a good way, sometimes they're protective and it hurts you. Like, it's a wonderfully simple and complex thing, and I personally wouldn't want to experience any less of it. And so this movie and this poem make me think of that blend. They make me think of that flow. and just the idea that I want all of that. I want all of the pain and the suffering as well as the joys and the happiness, rather than being indifferent to everything, rather than not experiencing anything. I'd rather have the experiences and grow from them and grow with them and grow into new experiences than take away the experiences. So.
All right. Do you have a quote? A joke? Do you have a joke?
No. I was enjoying the poem.
All right.
And so it didn't really happen. So unless you have a joke, because
we did have the joke of the quote, so I will rest with that as we.
Well, I hope we didn't
wind this down.
I hope I didn't soften everyone up too much. I hope that you are able to enjoy the rest of your day and not be, I don't know.
I actually lost track midway through the poem.
Fine.
And then I lost track like 1/4 of the way through your explanation of it, and so.
The main point.
But I hope our listeners
that it works, and just like you need both. You need the sadness, and you need the tears, and you need the smiles. So.
All right, and with that, we are done with this week with Koe No Katachi. We will see you guys next time with The Lord of the Rings.
Woo!
Bye-bye.
Bye.